Okay, today we are playing a game on Route 66. We are playing Pharah and Soldier on the first defense with like 10 seconds of Tracer right at the end. And then for the entire rest of the game we are playing Reinhardt. And we are in the gold SR range. I don't know exactly where, but we look to be pretty squarely in the mid-gold range based on the emblems. So let's look at our team. We've got Pharah, Lucio, Zarya, Widowmaker, Reinhardt, and Ana. Now, in theory, our team is not terrible, because the idea would be that Pharah does a bunch of AoE damage, like a lot of AoE damage to people, and then Widowmaker can just pick off those people. In practice, that would almost never actually work out that well, especially in, like, this SR range, where we're not really expecting this Widowmaker to be fantastic. But theoretically, it's not actually as bad as it might initially look. But, so let's start the game. Something to think about, we do not have a, like, guaranteed Pharah support. Basically what I mean is we don't have a Mercy, but we also don't have a Zenyatta. Like, Lucio can't really heal us, because we're, pretty high in the air, and usually pretty far away. And Ana has to actually have line of sight to us and be able to hit us as well. So, it's basically we don't have a, like, guaranteed support, so that kind of makes you have to play more safe as Pharah. In general, I find Pharah players are too overly aggressive, and that's why they usually don't get very much done. But when you've got, like, no Mercy, no Zenyatta, you're not, like, gonna get much guaranteed support, so you usually have to play a lot more careful. But anyway, so, they've got Pharmacy coming, so, and our Reinhardt is, this is a big no-no in general. Like, it's kind of okay for us to do this, as long as we hang out, like, near this wall, because we can use this as cover. Reinhardt, however, is, going to fight right next to their spawn, which is generally inadvisable. I'm gonna talk about this first, because it's really upsetting me, and then I'm gonna talk about what we're doing. So, Reinhardt's going and deciding that he wants to hold the, payload at starting position, right outside of the enemy team spawn. Thing is, the closer you kill the enemy team to their spawn, the less it actually means to kill them, because if you kill them right outside of the cafe, 10 seconds later, they respawn, they walk out the door, and they're back. You don't actually gain very much from killing them on this initial street. However, if you die in this initial street, it takes you like 20 to 30 seconds to walk back, depending on how mobile your hero is. So, it's not really worth the risk of fighting all the way up here. But Reinhardt's deciding that's what he wants to do, so that's fine. What we're doing right now is also a no-no, because we're floating just out in open space right now. Biggest thing with Pharah players is they don't think about their cover in the air. They're just like, oh, I'm gonna be up in the air, I'm hard to hit. Well, if you're floating just in open space, you're pretty fucking easy to hit, actually. The first point on Route 66 is not that great for Pharah, because there isn't much you can actually use for cover in the air. There's, like, the cliff on the right side up here at the start, but it doesn't take them very long to push past that. And then it's kind of hard to find, like, much cover in the air, because it's kind of like just a big flat surface with the gas station on it. But what we're doing right now, we're just, like, floating directly over their entire enemy team. And that gets you killed. That gets you killed as far. You gotta think about your cover in the air. Right now, we want to just sort of stick close to this cliff, because this is, like, the best cover we've got right now. We also don't want to go too far up, because the further up we go, the more we risk not being in line of sight of Ana, and she's all we've got, really, right now. Like, even this is, like, kinda iffy, because, like, we're pretty far away from that cliff, and, like, I guess we're using, like, this platform as cover, which is, like, not very much. Now we retreat back around here, and now we're just in open space again, right in front of the enemy Pharah's face. I think if the Pharah actually tried to punch us, she would have killed us right there. Yeah, she's, like, right on top of us, and we had 10 HP. Like, this whole thing that we're doing right now is not really okay, and now we're gonna land and try to punch this Junkrat to death. Don't do that. You don't want to land ever, really, and then we land, like, right in front of a Junkrat. Like, if you land in front of a Junkrat, you just, like, give him the opportunity to kill you, because, like, Junkrat versus Pharah, like, that's one of the straightest counters in the entire game. The Junkrat can't do very much against you. And if you land, you just give him the opportunity to kill you. Like, we're just so, oh my god, we're so close to them right now. Like, I know we're trying to kill this Mercy, but like, yo, like, this Pharah and D.Va could just look up and kill us right now. That's how close to them we are right now. This is mad over-aggressive. We should have died like 3 times over for doing this, honestly. And tried to concussive blast the enemy Pharah right there. Doesn't do any damage. Right here we get tranked by the enemy Ana, and frankly, like, I'm of the opinion that if the enemy Ana manages to trank you while you're flying through the air as Pharah, she's earned it. However, we are making it easier for her, because we keep getting real close to them. If there's nothing to really use as cover, as in, for, like, this first point on Route 66, like, the idea is you stick next to cover. This is why the second point is generally better, because we can use, like, the, saloon's roof, basically. But, if there's no, like, vertical cover for you to use as Pharah, basically you just want to be as far away from them as possible so that it's harder for them to hit you. Because Pharah doesn't have fall-off damage, you just have to predict slightly more. But if there's nothing to use as vertical cover, you just stay really far away from them. But we're, like, getting right on top of them while they're, like, all still there. And then we're just, like, floating out in open space really close to them. And I'm not sure why we're trying to Goomba Stomp a D.Va right now. I guess maybe it's because you want to contest the payload. Not your job, frankly. Like, it kind of seems like we're trying to just Goomba Stomp the D.Va to death, but I don't know if the actual thought is trying to contest the payload. If the thought is trying to contest the payload, that's not your job. Like, don't do that unless you're gonna lose the game for doing it. It's not the end of the world if you lose this checkpoint. If the thought is Goomba Stomp the D.Va, don't try and Goomba Stomp the D.Va either, because D.Va is too hard to kill as Pharah, basically. D.Va actually counters Pharah, but, you know, so we don't really want to be fighting that. And then we land, and we land straight on a Junkrat trap. Don't want to land, ever, really, especially just, like, that close to the enemy team. If you're gonna land, make sure you land pretty far away. Not right on top of them. So basically what's standing out to me, so I'm gonna mess up the concussive blast right there, happens, whatever. Basically the thing that's standing out to me the most this game is just that we're positioning really badly, or positioning way too overly aggressively, and we're not thinking about what we're gonna use as cover. Like, right now, we're just, like, out in open space again. And yeah, I know, like, their team doesn't really have, they don't like, if they had, like, a soldier, or a McCree, like, you would be so dead for, like, everything you've done so far, because we're just in open space the entire time, like, really close to them. They have an Ana, but Ana's not so much of a straight counter anymore, since they slightly lowered her damage. And then we get killed by the enemy Pharah. Which feels bad, man. Our team comp has gotten significantly worse, because our Widowmaker changed to Reaper. As, I know, our Widowmaker changed, and somehow the team composition got worse because she changed off of Widowmaker. Because now she's changed to Reaper. Now our team has no way of killing Pharah. We've got Ana, and that's it. Ana has to shoot her 4 fucking times, like, a lot of times. It's not great. It's not great. And our other healer is Lucio, so Ana's gonna have to spend most of her time healing her. So basically, we've got nothing to kill their Pharah right now. Now, they don't have anything to kill us, either. But their Pharah is doing a better job of killing people than us. And, like, part of that is because, like, they have a D.Va. So, D.Va makes it generally more difficult for Pharah to kill people. But, and like, right now, like, this is just bad target prioritization right now, because we're, like, focusing on this D.Va. D.Va is the hardest person for us to kill on their team. We should be shooting anybody else except D.Va. Alright, we shouldn't be shooting the other Pharah. We should be shooting anybody that isn't D.Va or Pharah. That's 4 other people. They're, like, all here right now. We're trying to focus the D.Va still. When you're playing in Pharah, basically your goal is to bully around supports. Okay, well, your first priority is actually kill the people who can kill you. So if they have a soldier, a McCree, a Widowmaker, those are actually your highest priority targets. But if those are not there, then you just bully around supports. Like, they don't have anything that kills you. So really you should just be killing their supports this entire time, because the best they have to really protect their supports is D.Va. But So, whatever. And like right now, again, we're just sort of floating out in open space. This is not good. We're not thinking about, like, vertical cover. This is very important when you're playing Pharah. We're just sort of floating in front of them in open space. Now we're barraging from 1,000,000 miles away, and it doesn't actually get very much done. Generally hard to barrage when D.Va's in her mech anyway. Again, we're trying to Goomba stomp the D.Va right now, and we're very low HP while we're doing this, so it's bad for, like, a couple of reasons. Like, our target prioritization is not very good, and our positioning is also not very good. We're not being punished for the positioning as hard as we should be, because they don't have a hit scan DPS. But, like, what we have been doing so far is really, really bad positioning. We don't kill the Mercy there before she reses, and unfortunate. And, like, we're really, like, fixated on this D.Va, is what I'm noticing also. Now we're trying to kill the other Pharah. Very hard to do. There are certain like, we've landed to try and do it. We get her in the end, I guess. There are certain matchups in this game that are not even really worth dealing with unless you get, like, a super extreme, easy way to do it. Like, Tracer versus Tracer, Tracer versus Genji, Genji versus Genji. Pharah versus Pharah. These are all matchups that are not really worth the effort. Because it's like, best case scenario, you kill the other person, but it's gonna take you so long that it's just, like, not worth either of you trying this. And, like, the chances of it even happening are pretty low. Like, unless both Pharahs are, like, right in each other's face, it's really hard to do. Not really worth bothering with. Again, we're just, like, landing right on top of them. We managed to kill the Ana right there. And now they're all scattering because of May's Blizzard, because apparently we've had a May somewhere in here. She has quietly built up her ultimate. And now we're trying to kill this, Zarya. Zarya's dead. Now we've got their Pharah floating in the air. There's nothing else for us to shoot at, for us to really shoot at right now, so, like, that's fine. But, like, now there's, like, a Junkrat on the scene. We don't really want to be bothering with this anymore. And, like, Pharah versus Pharah is, like, one of those matchups where I find both people get really into it a lot of the time. And just usually what ends up happening is neither Pharah does anything for a very extended period of time. In TF2, we had this, thing called weighted companion snipers. And this mostly happened on 2 Fort. If you don't know TF2, just Google 2 Fort and you're going to understand what I'm talking about. The idea was that your team would have a sniper, and their team would have a sniper, and they would just sit on the opposing side's balcony, shooting at each other all day. And all that basically meant was happening was neither team had a sniper, because both snipers were just so fixated on killing the other sniper, they weren't doing anything except removing each other from the game. So we called them weighted companion snipers, because it was a pun on the weighted companion cube, which is also a Valve game. So the idea was, they're just sitting up there, not doing anything at all. So they're weighted companion snipers. I find that's what, like, Tracer versus Genji, Genji versus Genji, Tracer versus Tracer, Pharah versus Pharah devolves into. Widowmaker versus Widowmaker also can devolve into that as well. But I find usually one Widowmaker is better than the other, so that tends to not actually happen as much as you might expect it to. So I just generally don't really recommend bothering. Like, right now we're right in each other's face, so it's easier now, but it's still taking us a really long time, and he's fixated on the Genji. Honestly, it's just more productive to be either bullying around their supports or bullying around Junkrat, because it's just not worth the effort, frankly. So D.Va's throwing her ult in right now, and Graviton's happening right there. We barrage into it from really far away, but they're in the Graviton. Oh, fuck, Mercy rezzed them. I mean, basically the only way you get around the Mercy rezzing them out of the Graviton is if you kill the Mercy before it happens, which, I mean, maybe we could have done if we weren't fixating on the Pharah for so long, but, you know, whatever. If coulda, woulda, shoulda. So now we're playing Soldier. That's fine. We haven't really been doing that much on Pharah, so maybe we can just kill their Pharah as Soldier. Pharah also I find very hard to make work on this point in general. We are, however, much, much too close right now. Much, much, much too close. Soldier wants to be as far away from the front line as possible. Oh, nearly walked into the Graviton right there. Very scary. We're very, very close right now. We do not really want to be this close. Soldier is not a close-range fighter. Like, right now, like, we're standing where McCree would be standing right now, basically. Soldier is a mid to long range fighter. He wants to be as far away from the front line as possible, but we're kind of like right up on the front line. Right now we're trying got blocked off by our own Mei, and now we're purple. Oh god, it's all terrible. Where we really want to be standing right now is up. Well, I mean, we're playing soldier, so where we want to be standing right now is with the American flag. We want to be standing on top of the truck behind us, because it's very, very difficult for them to get to us on the truck back there. And that's also high ground advantage as well, up on the truck. Right now we're going in with this, so, like, whatever, I guess, but... And then we get killed by the Anna over there. We want to be standing on the truck basically the entire time on this checkpoint, because it's high ground. Soldier wants to leverage high ground as much as possible. You want to be as far away from the fight as possible, which the truck also is, and high ground in general is very far away from the fight. And it's just really hard for them to get to you there. Like, if there's a soldier just sitting up on the truck the entire time, generally it makes it really, really hard to get through this. Like, we're standing right up here. Like, this is much too close. This is more where a McCree would stand than a soldier. Because McCree is close to mid-range. Soldier is mid to long range. And we're just like, we're right up in their grill right now. We should just be up on the truck, just like shooting in at these people, making life difficult. And they have a Junkrat as well. Like, you want to be as far away from Junkrat as possible as well, because Junkrat prefers if people are close. So we found the Pharah sneaking around the back end. I mean, we don't kill her, whatever. You know, I'm not gonna say aim better to you. What I will say is don't bother firing the Helix rocket at a Pharah unless you're really sure you're gonna hit her, because it's really hard to hit the Helix rocket on a Pharah. Like, I would have honestly used TAC Visor by now. If we go back, like, right around now, like, there's a fight happening over there. We've lost some people. Honestly, I'd use TAC Visor just to, like, kill this Pharah and the Mercy, because she comes over here and joins her. Like, I'd use the TAC Visor just to kill the Pharah, and then maybe also the Mercy, and then for the rest of the fight that's happening over here, because, like, most of our team is dead right now. And, like, yeah, you don't want to use your ultimate when most of your team is dead, but, like, they're right at the checkpoint. I would have just already used the TAC Visor by now. Now we're using it, now we're half HP, and we're behind them. Pharah just barrages us, and the enemy team turns around and kills us. I mean, it was probably going to happen regardless, but I would have used the TAC Visor a lot earlier, just to, like, kill the Pharah and the Mercy, if nothing else, and then, like, try and, like, salvage the rest of the fight. Realistically, though, you're probably fucked there, regardless. So, now we've changed to Tracer, because we're just trying to get back to the point quicker, and we're trying to bully this Anna. And now we're just going to try and contest the point for as long as possible by playing Tracer. Yeah, you know. Doesn't seem like we really play Tracer, but at the same time, you know, we're just trying to contest the point for as long as possible. You don't expect that to go well. So, but anyway, we're done playing DPS now. The entire rest of this replay, which is roughly we've seen roughly half of this entire game, is now Reinhardt. So, alright, let's talk about Reinhardt. I like me some Reinhardt. I hate playing Reinhardt, but he's my main. Because this is what has been forced upon me. So, we're coming out the gate, we're getting shot at immediately. Feels bad. They've been attacking with a Junkrat, so they're almost certainly going to still be defending with a Junkrat, which is inconvenient when you're playing Reinhardt, basically. And, like, this is happening up here. You've backed off too far, like, you know, we've backed off. They don't need to be afraid of this. We've got our shield to protect us. We, like, backed off the payload for a second, you know, don't do that. We've walked on this trap that we did see was there, actually, so that feels bad, man. Their Diva's just fallen off the edge, and their Junkrat has died. I don't know why we're playing so defensively right now. Like, yeah, I know we're, like, low HP, but we've still got our shield. Like, we could be walking forward and, like, spamming, you know, I need healing. We don't need to be falling backwards. And now we're walking up to them with our shield down, which is generally a faux pas, but half of their team is dead right now, so I guess it's not the end of the world. Again, we're playing really defensively. Like, we're sitting really far back right now, and I don't really get why. Like, now we're, like, mostly full HP, mostly full barrier. And we're sitting really far back. Like, we want to be at the very front. We're supposed to be making space for our team, and we keep, like, falling backwards for some reason. So, don't generally recommend that one. It's hard to pin Orisa unless you know her Fortify is on cooldown, but you also just don't need to do this. I'm not joking when I say this, where I think most people playing Reinhardt would have a better win ratio if they charged 80% less. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Like, all you really have to do right now is, like, hold your shield up and walk your team into this Orisa, and they will kill her for you, and that's, like, what happens anyway, I guess, but, like, you don't need to charge the Orisa, and if anything, that just puts, like, makes it easier for them to kill you if, like, more people, because, like, their team is gonna start reinforcing soon, they've been dead a while, so it's, like, there's no real reason to charge them. If there's no real reason to charge them, I recommend you don't charge them. Because generally what happens is people think they can charge, they charge, turns out they couldn't charge, and then they get killed. Like, I'm not saying you're really gonna get punished for it in this situation necessarily, but, like, if you don't have a really good reason to charge, I recommend you don't charge. And, like, charging out an Orisa is generally not gonna work out that well. So I just don't recommend doing it, even if you're not gonna get punished in this situation. Very common, like, this guy, you can just walk up and beat him to death, like, honestly, but he's gonna start sprinting away, and we're gonna let the rest of the team deal with it, because once he starts sprinting away from us, whatever, he's not our area anymore. So, now we're coming through this checkpoint. Orisa's over here, like, standing in a really suicidal position. All we've got to do is, like, hold our shield up and walk at her, and eventually she's gonna get killed by our team. That's exactly what happens. We're sitting, like, really far back right now for no reason. We should be standing at the front of the payload, and now we're gonna start flanking as Reinhardt. I think we actually heard the tire, and we were trying to scatter away from it, and now we're nearly dead. Don't do that. Can we actually hear Junkrat ulting? Is that what we're doing right now? Hold on. Yes, we hear Junkrat ulting right now. Okay. Don't run up here. Like, it's actually really easy for you to break Junkrat's tire. Like, if you hear Junkrat ult, you should be looking for where the ult is coming from so you can Fire Strike it, because it just so happens Fire Strike does 100 damage and the tire has 100 HP. So it's kind of your responsibility to break the tire if Fire Strike is up, because you're actually one of the more consistent heroes that can do it. You've only got to hit one skill shot, and it's a very big hitbox. If you are not in a position where you can do that, here's what usually works for Junkrat players, right? And this honestly works like 9 times out of 10. What you do is, you stare at the tire as it's coming at you, and you start backing away. Very important though, you back away with your shield not up. And then, as the tire's getting close to you, you suddenly put your shield up. And what I find is, 9 times out of 10, the Junkrat thinks, his shield is down, perfect, free kill, because you're backing away with your shield down. And then you put it up right at the last second, and he just detonates it on your shield. That I find works a surprising amount of the time. But we end up, like, running into enemy territory away from the tire and just barely survive it. If you hear it, you should be looking for where it's coming from to try and break it. So now Junkrat's jumping around on front of us. If you see a Junkrat do this, just start hitting him. Just, like, beat this Junkrat to death for doing that. Because the entire idea, this is an analogy I've used before. When you're playing Reinhardt, I liken it a lot to playing like a chain chomp. You know, like the Mario monster. The idea is that you have this area around you, and when things come into your area, you fucking pounce on them. But, while they're not in your area, you're just sort of, like, looking at them and trying to be menacing, right? When a Junkrat just, like, jumps down off the high ground right in your face like this, you start beating that Junkrat. Because he has come into your zone. He has come into the range of your chain, and now you beat him to death for it. But, he just concussive mines away. But now he's come back again, so it's fine. Now, the convenient thing is that their team doesn't have a Reinhardt, and we've just built up Earth Shatter. So, right now, like, I don't know why we don't Earth Shatter right there. Like, that's so free. Like, this is the freest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. You could ult both their tanks, their Mercy, and maybe that Ana as well. And you don't do it. And I'm really perplexed as to why, because it's like one of the freest Earth Shatters I've seen in my entire life. Like, I was watching this through earlier, like, oh, he's almost got it. Oh my god, this is so easy. They don't have a Reinhardt. You can just walk through this Orissa's barrier. And you don't do it, even though they all line up for it. And I guess it's because soldiers using tac visor. Fuck, man, just ult them anyway. Like, just ult those people. That was, like, the freest team kill I've ever seen in my entire life. And yeah, and then we end up holding it longer, decide we're going to use it on 2 less people now, and then Orisa throws down her barrier and just happens to block it, which, I mean, happens, feels bad, man. But, like, I would have used it so much sooner. You could have ulted at least 3 people, maybe 4 people with the Ana. You didn't do it. I was really upset about it. Because, yo, like, I've played so very many hours of Reinhardt. You don't just get an opportunity like that very often, and I was very upset when you did not take that opportunity. So, now we're coming into the last checkpoint. We're getting way too far ahead right now. We want to be touching the payload this entire time. Like, yeah, I know the door's opening and everything, but, like, come on. Come touch the payload. So, there's a Torbjorn turret rotating around right now. Little bit out of our area. We just hold up our shield and let them break it. Now they have a Reinhardt, which is good for them. They should have a Reinhardt if we have a Reinhardt. They should have a Reinhardt in general, especially on defense, but now they have a Reinhardt, so that's good for them. So right now, all we're doing is walking in with the payload. We're trying to build up as much fire strike as we possibly can by the time we get there. Roadhog's using whole hog, soldiers using tac visor. We could have charged in sooner than this, because basically when Roadhog starts coming in with this ult right here, I'd be trying to line up a pin on the enemy Reinhardt, because, like, we're going in right now, and, like, soldiers using tac visor as well. So I would be just trying to get the barrier out of the way sooner, but, like, it doesn't really matter in this circumstance, because, like, we're just bowling over them with ultimates right now. And they can't really stop us, because they don't have any ultimates to fight us with. So we just roll right over them and take the point anyway. So it's fairly nitpicky in the end, I suppose. So, now we're defending as Reinhardt again. We do not want to be standing down here. I say defending again as Reinhardt. This is the first time we're defending as Reinhardt. We don't want to be standing down here. We want to be standing up on the gas station, because there's no reason to fight people over here. Like, we don't gain anything from killing people over here, but if we die, we lose a lot from dying over here, where we're much more likely to die. We just want to sit on top of the gas station and, like, take advantage of the high ground. Fun fact also, you can contest the payload from the edge of the gas station. If you just stand on the edge of the roof, you actually contest the payload from on top of the gas station. This is a very gold SR thing, and because I find, like, below Platinum SR, people on Route 66 almost never stand on the gas station. And I don't know why. I guess because they're like, I see people be like, oh yeah, we'll just stand there, let them push the whole way to the fucking end, why don't we? I mean, the idea is you find the best choke point on the course and work around that, rather than fighting them as close to the point as possible. But, whatever, like, people like to do that. You just want to stand up on the gas station with your team for as long as possible. Now we're standing up here, which, I mean, is fine. At some point you expect to have to get off the gas station and fight them, and now we're gonna go in and start swinging at this Zarya. Really hard to kill a Zarya as, Reinhardt, but there's not too much to punish us right there. Would not recommend doing that, because there's a pretty high percentage you get killed for charging out on defense. We end up pinning the, Junkrat, but we've been trapped and we've been killed. When you are playing, like, in general, when you're playing Reinhardt, you need a pretty good reason to charge, in general. On defense, you need an exceptional reason to charge. And basically the only reason you ever really want to charge as Reinhardt on defense is the enemy Reinhardt has pushed up slightly too far, and you pin him against the wall and kill him. You basically, on defense, you use your charge just to punish people for over-positioning. You don't ever really want to just charge out at people, because the risk of you dying is pretty high, like what happens right there. And that's even one of the freer situations, right? Because they don't have, like, a super punishing hero for us. But, like, we charge out, and then we just step on a trap while we're coming back out of that, and we end up dying. And when you're playing Reinhardt, all you really have to do is hold your shield up and let the enemy team not hit your team. So, don't recommend that one, really. So, we've almost got Earthshatter built up right now. They don't have a Reinhardt right now. I would just Earth Shatter all those people right there. We hold it a little bit longer and we get jostled around, so we're pretty lucky we don't get, like, bumped behind the rock or anything. But now we're also kind of low HP and we're too afraid to really go in and take advantage of it. Now we're getting healed up. And we're going back in. We try to charge, we miss, you know, happens, whatever. And now we're just trying to hit people. Don't recommend trying to hit the D.Va. D.Va's really hard for you to kill, actually. She's got, like, a lot of hit points. I'd just be trying to hit anybody else, basically. Even Winston. You're better at killing Winston than you are at killing D.Va, because Winston's a softer tank than D.Va is. Because he has less armor and less hit points in general. It takes 2 entire less swings to kill a Winston than a D.Va, because your swing does 75 damage, and D.Va has 100 more hit points. So you'd be better off hitting anybody else on their team. Unless you can pin the D.Va, then that changes it slightly, but in that situation, we would have been better off just going to hit somebody else. Because D.Va's hard for us to kill. So, now, we're coming back round, fight's still happening over here, we're jumping back in, we're bullying the Junkrat now, got booped away, you know, now the sound barrier's happening, things are getting very awkward. Could have pinned the D.Va right there. If you can get a pin on the D.Va, that's pretty sick, because that's half her hit points. Like, right here, this is pretty free. I would just charge the D.Va right there, rather than using the Fire Strike. We pin her in the end anyway, so I guess it's like, whatever, but I would have pinned her much sooner than that. Now we've got Earth Shatter, and we've ended up in a really unfortunate position. We don't really want to end up, like, over here. Like, yeah, we're low hit points. So, I mean, also, if you pin the D.Va, immediately, like when I had said we should pin the D.Va, we'd actually, like, have our ultimate by now, because when you pin somebody, that's 30% charge. Just a bit under, actually, but, you know, whatever. So we'd have it much sooner. But right here, we've built up Earth Shatter. What I do right now, back up away from the D.Va, get as much of the cart in sight as possible, Earth Shatter across the cart. Because it goes under the payload and over the payload, so that would be fine. Or even just right there, Earth Shatter to, like, knock Winston on his ass would be a fine use of Earth Shatter, because he's, like, the only person left. Baby D.Va's also there, but, like, whatever. Like, we could Earth Shatter the Winston right there during his primal rage, and it would be much easier for him to kill him. For our team to kill him, rather. Now we're hiding in this, corner, spamming, I need healing. Your team cannot really see you here. That you've put yourself in the most awkward position possible for your healers, because they can't see you here. Basically don't try not to end up over there, because it's really hard for your team to see you, and you just sat in the corner spamming, I need healing. They could not fucking see you over there. Again, just like back off the payload, right, back up away from the payload slightly, and yeah, if you think your team's gonna back up, like, if they're gonna get it to the checkpoint, doesn't really matter, they're not gonna get a time extension right now. So it doesn't matter if they get this checkpoint. Just, like, back off the payload, Earth Shatter them, and then you'll get them all off the payload. They won't get a time extension for taking this checkpoint. You don't even have to worry about about them getting this point if you back off of it. Because they do not get a time extension because it's an overtime. Like, what? We've been holding this Earth Shatter for so fucking long. We could have almost built up a second Earth Shatter during this period of time. Like, if their team is swarming on the payload and you have Earth Shatter, as long as you can, like, if you're gonna lose the game, don't do this, but, like, whatever. If they're on the payload, just back up a little bit, get them all in your sight, Earth Shatter the payload. You will now kill them all. So, I was pretty upset by how long we held that Earth Shatter. We could have almost built up a second Earth Shatter in that period of time. The fight lasted that long. And we could have just killed them. We could have built it sooner by pinning the D.Va sooner, and we could have used it a lot sooner. Earth Shatter is one of the fastest charging ultimates in the entire game, because every time you hit somebody, that's 7% charge. Just Earth Shatter. As soon as you have Earth Shatter, all you should be thinking about is, how can I Earth Shatter them? And like a lot of playing Reinhardt, like there's not really a Reinhardt in this game, so this hasn't really come up. A lot of playing Reinhardt is just watching the other Reinhardt, like seeing what their tendencies are, and then trying to slip Earth Shatter past them. Like, here's a really easy thing you can do. Watch the enemy Reinhardt and be like, damn, he uses Fire Strike a lot. And then as soon as you have Earth Shatter built up, you watch the Reinhardt and you think, the second I see him start using Fire Strike, I'm gonna Earth Shatter. And then as soon as you see it, you just ult them. You just ult their entire team. And the important thing is you can't hesitate when you're gonna do that, because then you don't do it quickly enough. You gotta be thinking, as soon as I see it, I'm gonna do it. And then you just do it as soon as you see him start Fire Striking. and then you'll get his entire team. And if you can just do that, honestly, you'll climb to, like, platinum, like, immediately, because it's usually really easy to slip an Earth Shatter past the enemy Reinhardt. This is also why I recommend, if you're playing Reinhardt, you use Fire Strike until you've built Earth Shatter, and then as soon as you have Earth Shatter, you stop Fire Striking. Because Fire Strike is basically only there so you can charge Earth Shatter, and then you need it to kill people once you've Earth Shattered, because then you Earth Shatter, Fire Strike through them, start swinging, pin, whatever. Unless you can kill somebody with Fire Strike, but those situations are pretty rare usually. And every time you Fire Strike, if they have another Reinhardt, you're just kind of giving him an opportunity to Earth Shatter past you. And as you climb, that's going to be something that happens more and more. So, that's a really easy tip to gain SR as playing Reinhardt. Bronze Elo players hate him. But, honest to God, it's so easy. The thing is, people are afraid. They're like, what if I try and do it and I mess up and he blocks it? You gotta just be brave. You're playing Reinhardt. You are playing Wilhelm Reinhardt. You have got to smash them. As soon as they give you the opportunity to Earth Shatter them, you Earth Shatter them. And you don't hesitate. You gotta play with your heart. You gotta play like you mean it. So, it's Reinhardt Wilhelm. Is it Wilhelm? Which one is his first name? Reinhardt or Wilhelm? I don't know. I don't actually know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's Reinhardt Wilhelm, isn't it? Neither sounds quite right, does it? Reinhardt Wilhelm, Wilhelm Reinhardt. Neither of them sound quite right. It's like he's got two last names. I've got two first names, which means I'm not trustworthy. I was always taught not to trust somebody that has two first names. So, anyway, fucking hell. What a tangent. So, we're playing Reinhardt still, and we're attacking right now. They have a Bastion, which complicates matters slightly. Small thing that matters. There's a Orisa shield right here. If any less valuable shield than your Reinhardt shield, okay, Reinhardt shield is the most valuable shield in the game, because it's the highest hit points and you can move it around freely. If any other barrier can take damage for you, like Orisa, let that one take damage first, because it's less important than your shield. Her shield is right here. You should have your shield down and just be standing behind her shield letting it recharge, because it's gonna, like, the payload's gonna move past it anyway. Like, let it block as much damage as it can, rather than letting your shield take the damage. So, but they have a Bastion. The Bastion is actually in the street in front of us. So, we're looking for an opportunity to pin this Bastion. And, I think, like, yeah, I was kind of surprised when I first watched this through that this happened, but, we bump into the little baby turret. The little baby turret stopped us from pinning their, Bastion. Even if we did actually pin the Bastion, fucking hell, shut up. Even if we did pin the Bastion, we'd actually die, because we've taken too much damage going in. Here's the idea, right? When, there's a Bastion within pinning range, you walk as close to him as possible with your shield up first, because, like, our shield has 1,300 hit points. We can get a few feet closer to him before we start doing this, and then we'd probably notice that there's a turret in the way. You get as close to him as possible before you start pinning, because otherwise you take a big chunk of damage like that, and then even if you pin the Bastion, even if we actually pin the Bastion right there, we would have been killed before we actually pinned him against a wall. The idea is you want to get as close as possible with your shield first, if they're in pinning range. So, anyway, we've died now. You can charge sooner than this. This is, like, a small thing that adds up over a long period of time. You can actually charge, like, right now, because you can actually pivot around this corner. You can charge just over this ramp, like this part, and then just, like, I'm not drawing this very well. You can, like, do this, and then pivot just enough that you actually slide most of the way along the canyon road. You bump into it at the end, but you get very far before you actually do. And basically you just get there slightly faster, and you charge slightly sooner while you're doing it, so then your charge comes off cooldown quicker when you're in the fight. There are kind of knowing the most efficient way to charge back to the fight is kind of important, because it adds up. Like, you get there slightly faster, and you charge slightly sooner, so it comes up slightly faster. You can actually charge, like, sooner than this. We actually almost pinned somebody right there, but how the fuck can you see that one coming? You can almost hear the cartoon, like, poomph noise as he comes out. And we don't pin him, which is not exactly surprising, but we're still going to beat him to death regardless. So it's fine. We've almost got Earthshatter built up right now, and their Reinhardt just died, which is fantastic news, but the rest of their team is basically dead right now anyway. Bastion comes out, we kill him, we come over here. We Earthshatter the Ana, and, like, I'm not saying I would have done necessarily done this much differently, but, like, we see Mercy's tether on her. So I would, rather than going into the tunnel, like, try and pin the drive, just, like, rather than trying to ult her, I'd, like, oh, fuck, clicked on the timeline by accident. I fucked it all. We're back now. Rather than, like, just ulting the Ana, I would, like, try and ult the Mercy as well when we see the tether on her. But, I mean, this is going to achieve the same thing, so whatever, right? Whatever, I guess. And that's the story of how we won on Route 66. Despite playing 4 rounds, it doesn't actually feel as if it was ever that close, because we won the attacking round so much easier. I find that it tends to be this way, where it can feel really close if you defend first, because it might take, it can take a very long time. Like, you might be, like, when you're defending, you feel like you're fighting them forever, and it can feel a lot closer than it actually is, especially if they get it all the way to the end of their track. But then you switch to the attacking round and you get it there minutes ahead of them, and you're like, oh, I guess the game wasn't actually that close at all. This is also why I find the team that, I don't have empirical data to back this up, this is anecdotal, but I find the team that defends first is actually the team most likely to lose, because I find the team that defends first is the one most likely to tilt. Because the people on the defending, like, as this is true as you get higher and higher, you should expect the attacking team to complete at least one circuit, right, on attack. Like, they're gonna get it to the last checkpoint, usually. Not necessarily with any time to spare, but you should expect them to get it to the end. But the defending team, people tend to start getting tilted if they lose, like, 1 checkpoint. Or, like, 2 checkpoints. If they get to the last checkpoint, people start tilting. Like, you should expect them to complete a full circuit. And then, I've seen so many games where it can feel really close, because these fights are really drawn out and really anguished, but then you switch to the attacking side, and you just bulldoze right over them, and you find out, oh, I guess it wasn't actually very close at all, it was actually pretty easy, but anyway. So I find the team that defends first is the one most likely to tilt, and therefore the most likely to lose, even though that's stupid, because you should expect them to complete 1 circuit. But anyway, whatever. People are stupid. So anyway, things that stood out to me the most in this game, when we're playing Pharah, we're not thinking about cover when we're in the air. That's very important. You want to stick near cover even while you're in the air. If there isn't any cover to use in that particular area, just try to be as far away from them as possible, basically, because then it's harder for them to hit you. And Soldier and McCree actually do have fall-off damage, so if you're far enough away, they can't realistically kill you. If they have a Widowmaker, obviously that doesn't count, but the Widowmaker has to actually be able to hit you as well. So, like, people think Soldier is like a straight counter to Pharah. Honestly, Soldier is, it's like not realistic for a Soldier to kill Pharah in most cases, because the Soldier has to shoot the Pharah a lot of times. And he does have to shoot her, because he can't realistically expect to land the Helix rocket. Soldier doesn't actually kill Pharah. When a Soldier kills a Pharah, it's usually because of Pharah fucking up more than Soldier playing well, or because another DPS is helping Soldier do it. Like, the theory about why D.Va is a counter to, Pharah is, I mean, part of it is Defense Matrix stops her ultimate, but the other part is D.Va just, like, gets in Pharah's face in the air and does basically guaranteed damage to her, because you just get right in her face, you know, punch her and shoot her, and you do, like, 100-ish damage. You're gonna do less than that, but you're gonna do, like, roughly 100 damage to the Pharah. And that's mostly guaranteed damage, because you, like, do, like, most of it with your body, right? And the idea is then another, like, a DPS, like a Genji, can dash through them and, like, kill them. Or Soldier then, or McCree, only has to hit them much fewer times to actually kill them. That's the theory on why D.Va is like a counter to Pharah, because she does, like, half of the Pharah's HP, basically guaranteed, and then a DPS gets to finish them off, because Pharah is fucking annoying. And if it's Pharmacy, the Soldier will not kill the Pharah, unless the Pharah positions like fucking ass, basically. Fucking hate it. They die to Pharmacy, and then they push tab, and they look for the Soldier on their team, or the McCree, and then they shit-talk them. if there's pharmacy, they have to really fuck up to actually die. It's everybody's responsibility to try and kill the Pharah, because Pharah is such a fucking annoying hero. Honestly, I fucking hate Pharah more than... People are like, I hate Genji. I hate Mei. I fucking hate Pharah. Like, she's a pretty easy hero to play, but she demands your attention because she does too much damage to be ignored, but she's really annoying to kill, and some heroes straight up can't do damage to her. Like, if you're playing Reinhardt and the enemy team's Pharah is owning your team, there's basically nothing you can do about it. I hate Pharah. Tangent, again. Anyway, the other thing with Pharah is that we're not really prioritizing our targets correctly, because the idea is the tanks are the lowest priority, basically. You should be bullying around, like, if they have a hit scan hero, that person's your highest priority, because they're the ones that can realistically, like, they're the ones that are going to actually kill you in most cases. So you kill them first, and then you bully the supports. And then you bully around other DPS. Like, in this game, we could have been bullying the supports basically the entire time, and then bullying Junkrat. Or just bullying Junkrat if we can't realistically get to the supports. But we spend a lot of time attacking tanks, like D.Va in particular. Those are our lowest priority target as Pharah. Pharah takes a long time to kill tanks. They're not our issue. Especially D.Va. So, that's it. The brief period we're playing Soldier. Stand further back, stand on high ground. Very important for Soldier. Be as far away from the fight as possible, and be on high ground as much as possible. Soldier is one of the strongest heroes of the game on high ground, because he can heal himself, and he can fight from very far away. So he is very, very dangerous on high ground. And when we're playing Reinhardt, I mean, you know, not, like, it's hard to really say much, because we didn't have another Reinhardt to play against. And a great deal of playing Reinhardt is playing around the other Reinhardt. If they don't have a Reinhardt, it makes it much, 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 much easier, because so much of playing Reinhardt is outplaying the other Reinhardt. Basically, charge less. We don't even charge that many times. Charge less. You need a good reason to charge, and I don't think we had very many good reasons to charge in this game, except for, like, when we were fighting the D.Va right at the end. We could have charged sooner there. And we could have charged slightly sooner when we were fighting on the last point on attack, but I think in general we could have still just, like, cut out every other charge, and it would have been better overall. And, use your fucking Earth Shatter, dog. Yo, like, both of the times, yeah, both of the times you had your Earth Shatter, I was so upset that you did not use your Earth Shatter. I was so upset about it. Anyway, though, those are the things that stood out to me the most in this game. Thank you very much for watching, if you did, and bearing through all this terrible, terrible rambling. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer, and I hope you found the video helpful.